Good morning, gamers, and happy Wednesday! Today is episode 11 of the Beginner's Guide series, but before we get started, as always, if you're new here, please consider subscribing for more Valheim content and turn on that notification bell, that way you never miss an upload. Today, we're going to be taking a look at 10 different creatures in Valheim and breaking down specific techniques and tactics you can use to more easily collect material. But let me open up my game and we'll get started. Okay, now that I've got my game all pulled up, we are going to be taking a deep dive into the spawning process of these different creatures, and make sure you stay to the end of the video because I will be teaching you how to make a Greydwarf Farm. First, let's talk about boars. I'm sure that you know that you can tame boars and have them create offspring, but to find boars in the wild, there are two main places you should keep an eye out for. First, as you probably have seen before, there are these rune stones that you can read them, and they have these like little snippets of like story or like hints, but this particular one tells you about boars. And at these rune stones, boars will actually spawn nearby, and you're more likely to find like a 1-star or 2-star boar near one of these rune stones. At this runestone, boars are more likely to respawn after you have reduced their numbers. The second place is these abandoned villages. It is a great place to collect resources like raspberries, and even sometimes you can find extra piles of wood just laying around. But often the first time when you stop at these villages, there will be at least a couple boars wandering around. Next, let's talk about skeletons. Now, skeletons can be found in literally every biome. They are always around. You're never gonna have to worry about running out of skeleton bones. An easy way to find skeletons, though, is they will always be outside of crypts or these burial chambers, and they often have spawners inside. Let's take a look. Deep in the burial chambers, you might come across these evil bone piles. Now, you could come up and destroy them after you finish killing all of the surrounding mobs, or if you didn't know, you can't traditionally build down here, but you can place down campfires. I've quickly placed down a couple of campfires, and let me get out of ghost mode and see how these skeletons respond. Now, the skeletons, they're not very smart, but they, that we could use that as an advantage. Placing down the campfires will prevent them from advancing on you, and you can easily take them out with a bow and arrow. With that spawner there, they will continue to respawn unless I destroy it. A word of caution, you can place down campfires, but you can also get smoked out, so you will take smoke damage if you're not careful by how much ceiling height you have where you place down your campfire. So just a little bit of caution with this one, but like finding bone fragments is not difficult by any means, but maybe try placing down some campfires in burial chambers and have some fun with it. Also, if they catch on fire, they'll die, so that's nice. Moving into the swamps, let's start with draugrs. Now, draugr spawners or body piles can be found in a number of different locations, sometimes within sunken crypts, within the like towers that you see, kind of like in ruins around the swamp, and then lastly in these like big spawn area where it has both body piles and the evil bone piles. What you can do to turn this into a farm is by using the rocks as kind of like natural barriers. You can build walls in between them, trapping all of the monsters inside. Then, once they are all contained inside, you can use a bow to just pick them off, and they will continue to respawn as long as those piles are still there. They will try to kill you, of course, but this is an easy way to get lots and lots of entrails for like sausages and stuff. I don't know about you, but I find the grind for gathering Surtling cores and smelting wood into coal to just be super tedious. and I cannot be bothered after early game. So a awesome trick that you can use is these Surtling spawners are a fantastic way to get easy coal and Surtling cores. So once you have eliminated the locals, they will drop either coal or Surtling cores. And then use your pickaxe to dig out around the fire shooting out of the ground. What you're trying to do is, well, one, try not to catch on fire. What you're trying to do is make sure that there is a radius around that fire where the spawner is that is completely surrounded by water. Fun fact, Surtlings cannot survive in water. They will burn up. So once you've picked out kind of this area, roughly every 3 days, Surtlings will respawn, and as they respawn, they will fall directly into the water and kill themselves, essentially, so you can just come by and pick up their remains. Now, leeches are a little bit more tricky. You see, they don't have like any specific giveaways that they have a spawn point, but if you see 5 or 6 of them coming up and attacking you from around the same place, mark it on your map because it is most likely a spawn point for those leeches, and you can revisit it after a couple of days and they'll respawn. It's kind of like a makeshift blood bag farm. There's no like easy way to get the blood bags besides just regular farming them, unfortunately. If you have any specific tips for where you like to look for leeches, please leave those down in the comments below. Moving on to the mountains, let's start with stone golems. These things are the absolute bane of my existence. I hate them just so much. But if you didn't know, they are more likely to spawn around these log cabins that you see. So when you're out looking for silver, be super careful when you're around these, because if you actually spot a stone golem before they have woken up, you can get some sneak damage before the initial fight. If you didn't know, stone golems actually start out as just like a lump of rock, and it's not until you get nearby them and wake them up that they will try to kill you. While prepping for the motor fight, you may go around collecting dragon eggs from these little nests, but what you may not have known is that drakes actually spawn from these points. There's normally 2 to 3 that are there, and if you kill them, they are likely to respawn there. The egg will also respawn after a couple of days, so that is useful to know for the motor fight. With the Hearth and Home update, we actually got these new creatures called growths. They are made out of tar and they behave similarly to like blobs do. And they spawn in these tar pits. On average, I think they spawn between 3 and 4 at each tar pit, but I think it really depends. And they will continue to respawn as long as the tar pit still stands. Now, oppositely, let's say you don't want them to respawn anymore. You're going to want to actually drain the entire thing. As you can see, I just made a little draining area for all of the tar to escape from. And then what you're gonna wanna make sure you do to top it off is to add a workbench. The growths will spawn at least one more time, but then after that they will no longer spawn. So if you want to keep the growths around, Don't destroy their home, but if you want them out of here, just drain it all and they won't come back. These big guys are called Leviathans, and they have these barnacles on their backs that can be mined to get chitin, which you can use to make like harpoons and stuff like that. So if you pick them, the turtle doesn't like it very much. And so he'll start rumbling and grumbling as you pick away at the barnacles on his back. And I don't know exactly how long, and I don't know if it like varies, but you've got a little bit of time before he starts sinking right into the ocean. He likes to make a lot of noise. And then he'll like slowly start going down and rumbling. You run back to your boat. And then poof, he's gone. Well, kind of. He actually just like floats beneath the, like sinks down beneath the surface, but he doesn't move his spawn point. So after a couple of days, he'll just like resurface. So make sure you mark on your map whenever you find a Leviathan, and if he sinks down and runs away, you can just come back later. This is a Greydwarf spawner. Now, they are really annoying when you're running around the Black Forest, but they can actually be really useful. When you kill a Greydwarf, it gives you stone and wood and sometimes some other stuff. But a Greydwarf farm is actually a viable option for easy wood and stone collection. So that's what I'm going to teach you how to do right now. So you will need your pickaxe and some building materials. First, we're actually going to pick out all around this area. And of course, you'll have to be killing monsters while you do this process, but it's totally worth it. And you're gonna wanna dig just as deep as you can. Unfortunately, mobs don't take any fall damage, but we are gonna be using it for a different purpose. Now that our hole is done, you can see that the spawner actually stays floating while all of the monsters fall into our beautiful hole. Now we've got two choices. Let me start you off with the first one. For the first technique, you're going to need to tame a small army of wolves. To help them into the hole, if you wish, you can simply, first you need to turn on friendly fire, and then you need to harpoon your wolf, which will make them take damage, and then drag them into the hole. Sometimes they'll fall on their own, but that is the easiest way to do it. And then, as monsters spawn into the hole, the wolves will be able to take them out for you. I do recommend using starred wolves, just because if you have a regular wolf, they can take serious damage from things like Greydwarf brutes and stuff. So this is not a happy life for these wolves, but it is a useful, and then you can just walk through and pick up all of the resources without doing any of the work. For the second option, you're gonna need a stone cutter and a lot of stone. So what I'm actually going to do is in the hole, I'm going to place down just a ton of hearths. Once you have all of your hearths placed down, you're gonna want to light them all. And then, as mobs spawn in, they will fall directly into the fire and kill themselves. So you can decide for yourself which one you would prefer to use. I don't have an opinion on it. I've actually really never used them in game, but they're really cool and a useful tool to do lots of farming. You just have to be careful with the hearths one, because you can strategically walk along the stone, but you could catch on fire and theoretically kill yourself as well. So that is something to note. But I hope you have enjoyed this breakdown of the different spawning processes and how to exploit those in Valheim. If you enjoyed this video, please leave it a like and let me know all of your thoughts in the comments below. I will see you next time. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye!